tired of the work, the teachers and lunch ladies. On the streets of brown mama, raising our brown babies.
I went home Friday night, I had a job. I show up at work Monday morning and find out the company no longer exists. And if you're not a supervisor or higher in the company, you ain't getting a paycheck. What do? Survival mode. And you survive one day at a time until you can make it again. All we got left. There's not much else you can do.
Steep budget cuts were made to our department and to across the university as we lost professors, as our work roles changed from from doing research to being thrown into teaching as they were cutting back on the professors and on salaries, and as people were scrambling to find jobs where they made adequate pay and benefits. We had quite a shakeup here in Nevada.
The price of labor in China or Pakistan or Africa directly affects very quickly, within a number of years, the cost of labor and the benefit of labor in the U.S.
And when you start taking that shit on, you have to be equipped in other ways. You got to have the ability to defend yourself. You got to have the ability to go on the offensive. You've got to have the ability and the skills to have lawyers and paralegals to develop resistance. You got to know when to go into court. You also got to know when to burn shit up.
I became a lawyer. I came out here to help people. It's what I was about. And it gets frustrating because as a lawyer you have to work within the laws as they're written. And those laws were not in the favor of most people.
We were the lead in foreclosures for a long time, where a lot of people ended up leaving because their houses were foreclosed on. Highest unemployment rate. So I just saw this crash come down of the economy.
I don't consider myself homeless. Housing impaired, residentially challenged, professional camper, not homeless. Homeless people are helpless.
The fact is that overall the laws in this country were against the people, and it was frustrating. It was frustrating to be trying to fight for people and see that people are absolutely in the right, but the laws aren't there to help them, that the laws are angled against them. And the fact is you can't change that unless you have either money behind you or a mass of the public. And for the longest time it seemed like the public was asleep.
So I'm gonna cry. I'm sorry. But that's what I do. That's what I fight for, lost causes. So when the media is not paying attention or they don't want to pay attention, we were actually calling news stations and saying, this is what's going on, why aren't you covering it? We can give you the videos, we can give you all the information you need, we can get you in contact with people in this country so that you can talk to them and get an interview. And they said, no, we're not interested.
I think Occupy, in a very short period of time, burst onto the scene and became an extraordinarily powerful voice for lots of important issues. So I don't really care. I mean, resistance evolves. It's different things to different people at different places and different times.
Occupy was like a lot of people just came together. It just seemed like like I said, you had an education group, and then we saw this call online in New York City, like, we're starting this Occupy movement, and then there was people talking about all going to New York City.
Like everybody showed up and went, what's wrong with the world? What is wrong with the society we're living in? We weren't sure what was going to happen. Part of the excitement was that you don't exactly see that kind of thing every day. In fact, you don't see that kind of thing every generation. And we were, the economy of the U.S. and what was going on in society, to anybody that studied any amount of history, very quickly became reminiscent of what happened in the 1930s after the stock market crash and Black Friday and the Great Depression hit. The thing is, though, is if you study what happened in the U.S. over the last 10 years, and then you compare that to what happened in the Great Depression, you come away with a lot of the same answers, basically.
The whole notion of Occupy Wall Street and forcing people to identify and look at the corporate military structure and look at the banking system and look at so-called free enterprise is something that's not going away. So I don't get all fucked up because Obama and Holder don't indict bankers. I don't really give a fuck. Because you indict bankers, a couple go to jail, a couple get good lawyers, and a couple jump bail. It doesn't matter. But I think it has created an environment where the SEC and other monitoring agencies have to be more careful, things are more closely scrutinized, where Congress is less likely to be as glib and as flip as they were, and that comes out of Occupy.
I don't actually believe, for the most part, that there is a quid pro quo for this, that there is an agreement, okay, I'll contribute $500,000 to your re-election campaign if you vote for my bill. But nonetheless, that doesn't change the fact that a politician knows that his re-election depends on Bank of America or Walmart or Chevron contributing to his campaign next time around, and not his competitors. When something like that happens, you know that that's going to influence the outcome. And if you have any doubt about that, think about how many millions and millions of dollars the financial services industry has given to congressional campaigns in the last few years, since the crash.
A lot of what led up to the situation in the U.S. right now, and the Occupy movement starting, was bought-out representatives trying to force an agenda of austerity on the middle class and the poor, who were not at fault for causing the second Great Depression.
I think it doesn't take long to see that since the financial crash, there have been almost no financial reforms pushed through Congress. There have been a lot of bills introduced, and they've all been quickly killed. I think that's pretty clear evidence of just how much power enough money thrown into politics can have. And it's absolutely the last thing we need in this country. We need for our politicians to be free to make their decisions based on what they think is best for America and not what they need to do to continue in their office.
All this stuff that we'd spent decades and decades building up, not to protect the power elite, but to protect the middle class and the poor, the core of our nation, is who those laws were designed to protect. And the power elite spent decades buying up politicians and buying policy in order to have all of that swept away on purpose.
Occupy has rewritten the rules of the game. And you've got corporations, and you've got businesses, and you've got government, you've got politicians saying to police, fuck this shit, we ain't putting up. You get paid a lot of money, and it ain't just about writing tickets, and it ain't just about, crossing people across the street. This is a threat. And you need to do something about it.
Different groups came in from different avenues so that we weren't all coming in from the same place. And so you saw people all coming in, the floods of people coming in from different roads and descending onto Wall Street, and just police presence everywhere. I have never seen that much police presence. I saw more police, more riot gear on Wall Street that day in New York City for the first anniversary with peaceful protesters than I saw there for Congress and the U.S. President to come in and speak to us as the Democratic National Convention.
Well, we were marching. We were marching down towards Wall Street, and we went around the corner. The cops came and shut down the side we were trying to march on, told us to turn around, so we turned around and started to walk back the other way. When we turned that corner, we just saw floods of cops coming down that roadway. Also turned us around then to go back the other way, but there's cops the other way too. So when we tried to go back the other way, literally cops started lining across the sidewalk so that nobody could walk through, and then just grabbing and arresting people for not being able to move, but they were the ones blocking them from being able to move.
There's supposed to be a couple side distractions going on to kind of not do anything illegal, but keep the cops busy and distracted so that we can get down there where we need to be.
We're marching and they divide us into 4 street corners. So some of us start to cross and they stop us, and then some of us start to cross and they stop. So they got us all on 4 street corners, and then they start putting cops on both sides. And if you step into the street because you've been pushed into the street, you get arrested. Or you get pulled into the street and then arrested for being in the street. And then, so they're giving us a dispersal order, but you can't leave because there's cops on both sides of the corner. And so they're starting to grab people into the street and arrest us because we're not moving because we can't.
Man, do me a favor.
So this great bar owner, we're all trying to crowd back so the cops can't grab us, and some of us fell into this bar. And the bar owner saw what was happening, opened the bar, and started grabbing people into the bar and saying, "Come through the back, come through the back." So this bar owner shuttles about 20 or 30 of us through this bar into the back so that we can bypass the cops. And the cops are looking at the back entrance of the bar and starting to move towards it like they're going to block the back entrance of the bar. So I don't know the name of this bar, but I'm definitely going to be drinking there later.